Hey Casey, before we talk about digital engagement strategies, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your role at North Point because it's kind of a new position for you. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, my title for the 12 years I've been here has been Director of Ministry Services, which is awesome because it doesn't tell you at all what I do. So it's nice to have a title like that. But basically, my job is to make sure all of our staff and all of our guests have a frictionless experience 7 days a week. And I really get to lead a lot of great leaders who lead great teams. Um, the new part of my job is something we're calling attraction. Not a small task, but my job now is to get new people to North Point. And so that's a big task I'm looking forward to being a part of.
Yeah, so on that note, I don't know. I just find it interesting that this is a new role for you and actually kind of a new team, it sounds like at North Point. And it just sounds a little bit contrary to we know North Point as a church that unchurched people love to attend. And I think some people would be surprised that having somebody over an attraction team to reach unchurched people is a new thing for North Point. But the reality is, as I understand it, most of your team in the past was set up for people once they connect to the church, providing ministry to those people. So, should I be surprised by this?
Um, I don't, maybe yes and no, maybe. I don't know what the correct answer is on that. I'll give you a little history lesson about us. So
Okay.
yeah, historically we have structured around ministry departments, preschool children, middle school, high school groups, operations, departments. Now this started for us pre-COVID, thinking about restructuring around strategy. And honestly, what got us thinking this way was growth was not happening as fast as we were used to seeing it happen. And some of the things in the past, so we could just turn that knob and growth would happen, weren't we could turn that knob and just a little bit would happen now. So we've started looking at strategy, and we knew if you change your strategy, you have to change your staff structure to go along with your strategy. So we were looking at this pre-COVID, and COVID just really sped all this up for us. And so let me give you kind of a little bit of our new strategy here at North Point, and I'll tell you a little bit how we're structuring our staff around that. So our strategy now is around attraction, engagement, and experience. And so attraction, very simply, is get new people in the building. So that's my world. And then engagement is once they're in the building or once they're in our database, honestly, we help them take steps in spiritual formation. And then the third thing is experience. And that's kind of what, our traditional ministry environments, that's what people experience when they're here. But that really is where we want to even more so inspire them to follow Jesus, and honestly where retention lives, that we hope that the experience here will keep them in. So yes, so now we are in the beginning stages of staffing around that. And so honestly, what we did is there's a few instances where we just moved, I'll speak about attraction. We have a department that thinks about serving our community, meeting needs in the community. They seemed like a natural fit. Let's just move them to attraction. They were already a part of my team, but now let's let them keep doing what they've been doing. But now we're going to add this extra lens to their thinking about their department of, so keep meeting needs in the community, keep serving and loving our community, but how do we get new people in the building through that? It could be through the people we are serving. We now invite them to North Point. But a new spin for us could be that we invite unchurched people to come alongside of us and do good in the community with us. It sounds great. We don't know if it works yet, but we're going to test it this fall. So that's an example of moving an existing team over. But we also have hired a couple of new positions. We know that this is going to be a lot of projects, a lot of work to attract new people in the community. So we have someone handling a lot of the projects there. We have someone who's handling just the relationships between North Point and the community. In some ways, we all do that, but we need someone who's out in the community really introducing North Point to this business, this restaurant, this school, and saying, hey, we're here for you, and we want to have a two-way, a mutually beneficial relationship with you. So yeah, in the past, it was everybody's job to think about attraction. It was every North Point attender's job to think about attraction, and we still want that to happen. But and I may be jumping ahead a little bit here, but we're learning in the past, and this, I don't mean this in an arrogant way, but we could open the doors to North Point and new people would walk in. That doesn't happen anymore. And it's not because we stink and we're not good. Culture has shifted. And instead of waiting for the community to come to us, we now have to go to the community. And so that's where attraction will play a big part of.
Yeah. So a couple key things I just want to highlight. First of all, I think it's interesting. You described we wanted to make a strategy change. And so we recognized our structure has to change as well.
Yes.
That I think is key. And then secondly, even for North Point, new people weren't coming to you. You were having to figure out how to engage with them before they even consider showing up for a service or watching a service online. And
Yes.
that's a big shift. Those are two big shifts for any
Very
organization. Big. Yeah. All right. So I don't know if people realize this. North Point's actually my home church. Our small group is meeting, Casey. So we're appropriately social distancing, but we are meeting during the season. I hope that's okay. Is that okay?
I will have to check, but no, if you weren't meeting, I would somehow come make you meet. So no.
Okay. All right.
Good job. Thank you for meeting.
All right. So North Point being my home church, I think I'm more aware of what I perceive to be kind of new intentional initiatives. And I've been noticing some things that you're trying to engage online. One example that was a parenting event that I noticed in recent weeks. And I'm curious to hear, what are you learning as you're trying to engage new people using an online strategy? Are any early wins that you can share? And actually, is there any stuff that's not working that you could share too? Because we'd like to avoid doing that if possible.
Okay, I'll be really honest. I like you, and this is just between the two of us, right? We're not recording this, so it's just. I mean, to be very honest with you, we're in the middle of learning. I don't know. I wrote down 3 things I will get to in just a second because I thought, gosh, I need to have an answer to this question to be helpful to somebody. But to be very honest, we're in the middle of this right now, learning. So I know we're learning things, but I don't know if in 2 months, some of the things I would tell you, I'd come back and be like, oh, wait, now we need to change our answer because it's something different. So, we're like, well, I don't know if we're like everybody else. We've moved over the last few months of showing our online service online, and that was it. Then we moved to continuing to do that. And then we're going to show our children's and student ministry experiences online or content online. And now we're creating content specifically for online. And so that's kind of been our evolution throughout COVID, which has felt natural to us, but it's a lot of testing. The parenting content you mentioned, we had 3,000 or more people sign up for that. That feels like a win, but to be honest with you, we don't know yet if that's a win. It seems like we have celebrated that, so we're counting that as a win.
Yeah.
Is registration a win, or is number of people who view a win, or is the number of people who actually watch the whole video a win, or is the win they take a step afterwards, some type of step that we want them to take, or are all of those wins? And we need to measure all those things and have, some ways to help those people through their journey afterwards. So we're still, I don't know, it's very much a season of testing and learning for us. Early on, we put our middle school ministry online just because we had to. And it was amazing. The numbers were phenomenal. Volunteer numbers, student numbers. And then about 2 or 3 months in, middle schoolers just decided to show us that they were kind of tired of Zoom, and the numbers went, whoa. They just stopped. And so we were winning with middle school. And then all of a sudden we weren't winning with middle school anymore. And so we've changed what we're doing with them, but our preschool and children's content online is still great. I mean, still getting great numbers. Our worship service numbers are great. So we're still learning. I think we're still learning what wins are and how to measure them and what to do with them. Here's 3 big wins though, because I did want to have at least sound like I know what I'm talking about with your great question. I'm trying. I think our 3 biggest wins so far, and I'm just going to read these to you. I think the biggest win is we're trying new things with the permission for them not to work as long as we learn something. So in a church like ours, we're 25 years old, multi-campus. It's not easy to try new things. And for us to feel that permission and the permission for it not to work is a big deal around here. So just that, and I'm a little jealous of other churches who may be a little more nimble and quicker than we are, that they can do that. I'm glad that we're now catching up to them and we can try some of those things. You've mentioned this already, but we're now staffed around strategy. Huge win for us. These, that people are they wake up and they're paid. They fob into our building for the reason to think about strategy, to focus on strategy. That's a big deal for us. And then a third one, you and I have talked about this offline some, is that we are, even pre-COVID, we did our worship service online. I think it's a good experience, but we thought almost 100% physical. COVID has forced us to think very digitally. I think we'll have to swing back to think about both equally. But it forced us to think digitally outside of the worship service. And that's a huge win for us. Some things that just, they just come a little slower to us here at North Point that now we're swimming in them.
Yeah, so a couple follow-up questions to that then, Casey. Number one, I mean, you just kind of alluded to that. I mean, it's your sense that what you're doing as far as online strategies to reach new people, that's going to continue even post-COVID once North Point is back to in-person services on Sunday morning, as an example. You're sensing there's still going to be a need for an effort to engage people online. Is that what I'm hearing?
I hope so. I'll be so disappointed and mad and I don't know, all the emotions. Yeah, I feel confident right now. I don't think it will look the same as it looks today, because right now we don't have a physical environment. Let's pick on children's ministry. Right. So we put a children's ministry and experience online. Well, one day, hopefully soon, when we have a physical children's experience that they can come to the building for, we don't want to just record that and hit, kids watch that online, because they're missing out on the relationship with the small group leaders and things that you're going to get better physically probably than digitally. So it will be an expression of that. But yeah, I feel confident that we will. I don't know what it will look like, but yeah, I feel confident. And thankfully get to sit around some people who, if I sense that we're not thinking that way, I can whisper or yell really loudly and be annoying so that we don't stop thinking that way. But I feel pretty confident that the right people are thinking about those things.
The other thing, it sounds like, if I'm hearing you right, that you're beginning to think about your online strategy beyond just getting your service online. And that's what we saw in almost every church that we were working with pre-COVID, at least, is when they talked about their online strategy, they were actually just talking about having online services. But it sounds like you're thinking well beyond that now. Is that correct?
Yes, I think we were guilty of exactly what you just said. We talked about some digital things, but we just never got to them because we did a good digital online service. But yeah, up until COVID, that was our digital strategy, was our online service. So now when we think about that, I mean, it's so exciting, but it's so when you throw out digital strategy now, not only in my mind, do I not think worship service, I think preschool children, middle school, high school, adult small groups, a care ministry, and then speaking into our strategy, attraction, engagement, and experience. Like all those now have physical and digital components moving forward, where COVID has forced us to try to test and try some of those things in all those areas I've mentioned. So now it's the hardest part for us sometimes is just getting started. We talk about we have so many meetings and conversations and lunches about things. And, 6 months later, we're still talking about it. And so COVID forced us to do some things. And now it's easier to go to phase 2 or version 2 or version 3.5. Now that we've already got version 1.0 off the ground. And so, I feel confident that that's what the future will look like for us. But yeah, and honestly for us, it's never been all about the worship. Our model is not all about the worship service, but our digital strategy was up until COVID.
So I know that North Point has made it clear. We're not doing in-person services through at least the end of this calendar year. And by the way, living in the community, it's interesting talking with people about that decision. Church people are just confused by it. They don't understand it. But the people that we're trying to reach, our neighbors that are not part of a church, and the people that I just run into in our community that they're not part of a church right now, even though they're not part of a church and they're not part of North Point, they really respect that decision. And so that's really been encouraging for me, because again, this is really what North Point's mission is about. It's engaging people outside the church and outside the faith. But we've been talking about the part of your role, attraction, that is engaging new people online. I think what I'm hearing from you too, especially from previous conversations, is there needs to be some intentional focus on what some offline strategies look like related to attraction as well. Is that correct?
It's very correct. First of all, I would like to be a guest speaker on your "What Are People Saying About Church Staying Closed" seminar. I've got some stories to share with you.
I bet you do, because I've heard some crazies.
I've read some emails and seen some social media stuff that would get you some viewers. But no, back to the question. Yes, very much so. And honestly, when we're thinking about the attraction strategy, we're trying to we've spent some time and some resources to learn about our community, and the local community, and just some national data on people. And this is certainly not rocket science, but we know people live their lives physically and digitally. I do that every day. You do that, even without even knowing that we're bouncing back and forth between a physical and a digital world. So that's how people live their lives. And so when it comes to our attraction strategy, we are trying to put as equal energy and attention on both physical and digital, online and offline. And a couple of examples, and these are things we are just beginning. We'll test over the next few weeks and months. Our church is doing a book drive because kids here are doing virtual learning. There's a lot of kids in our community who don't have books at home, and who they don't have access to their school libraries. And so we're doing a North Point book drive. It's going to be awesome. We'll have lots of books collected. Well, one of the things we're going to test is we're going to do a community book drive. As soon as the North Point book drive ends, we're going to do a community book drive where we're asking the community to donate books to kids. The book drop off is here at North Point. So we're going to do some offline strategic things, and these are old fashioned, like a mailer, like putting up flyers in grocery stores and restaurants, wherever people are kind of living their lives physically right now. But then we have a digital strategy as well. A lot of, just kind of your basic social media ads, and trying to get in front of people digitally and they can grab those physical books and come drop them in a physical box here at the church, or they can go use a QR code, go to Amazon, purchase the books, have them shipped, and do that completely digital. So that's one thing we're trying. We've got a kind of a short-term ad campaign we're going to try later this fall, targeting the unchurched people in our community, just kind of saying hey, the slogan right now is going to be a better normal, of hey, everybody's got a new normal. You didn't ask for that, but a better, we can help. I think what we're going to say is you can create your better normal, and hopefully we can help with that. But we're going to try to get that in front of people digitally and physically as well. And so I think one of the temptations that COVID at least put in front of us, even honestly in front of me when it comes to attraction, is go all in on digital, which is, in some ways, we needed that kind of kick in the pants to jump over there and go digital. But what I have to keep reminding our team about is it's both. And kind of depending on what exactly we're trying to do, whether we lean physical, lean digital, but for us, ultimately, it's about getting new unchurched people into North Point. So we're going to try to put equal intentionality, equal energy, equal resources into the online and the offline things that we try with attraction this fall.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the better normal. That's fantastic. Casey, really appreciate you sharing some of the inside scoop of what's happening at North Point, especially as you look to reach people outside the church and outside the faith. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Dan. Really appreciate it.